So there's one defense that most people are not aware of against e4 and the Ruy Lopez, and I'm gonna feature in a few traps just to make this study exciting. So let's say white starts with e4, and then you go pawn to e5, then knight f3 and knight c6. So at this point you are expecting your opponent to play bishop c4, but all of a sudden, there you see bishop b5. I hate the Ruy Lopez. I mean, nobody likes the Ruy Lopez. It's boring, drawish, and non-committal. So instead of responding with the Berlin defense or the Murphy defense, which are two common responses that Spanish players expect to see, I propose you respond with knight ge7, known as the Cozio defense. This is very much playable at all levels, even in classical tournaments, rapid, blitz, and bullet. Now, before I show you some traps and tricks, allow me to establish the theory behind this opening. This structure on the board, where the queen's knight is on c6 and the king's knight is on e7, resembles the structure that we get in the Scotch Gambit. The only difference is, in the Cozio defense, our dark squared bishop is still on f8 and it's not happy at all. While in the Scotch Gambit, we only play knight ge7 after putting our dark squared bishop on b6 like this. For example, after e4, we go e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, pawn takes, then bishop c4, the Scotch Gambit, where we go bishop b4 check, and then after c3, we take, and after pawn takes, we go bishop a5, castle shot by white, bishop b6. So all this is theory, guys. It's all known. From here, bishop a3 is the main book line, after which you now go knight ge7, this move that we play by move number 3 in the Cozio defense. So you can see the difference. In the Scotch Gambit, we only play knight ge7 once our dark squared bishop is on b6, which is a plus, so that after anything, we now castle shot and consider playing h6 next. But in the Cozio defense, we rush with knight ge7 first and temporarily hurt our dark squared bishop, so that after a few moves, we may fianchetto our dark squared bishop and castle shot like this, or go knight g6, double defending this pawn, and after something like d4, this is when we take. If bishop takes, by the way, we can just take. And after knight takes d4, we then play bishop c5. By the way, if knight takes c6, we don't take with our d pawn to avoid an early queen exchange, but we rather take with our b pawn, attacking this bishop with tempo. If bishop c4, by the way, that allows us to go pawn to d5, and then castle shot to set up this little trap of sacrificing our bishop on f2 with check, knowing that white can take because of queen takes d1 check, and if queen takes f2, we can simply go queen h4 check, forcing the king to go back, after which we gladly take the bishop. Next, this pawn will be the target, and let's just say white doesn't take our c pawn, because that allows us to sacrifice on f2. If they play the theoretical move bishop e3, challenging our dark squared bishop, what the best you can do is just to retreat your dark squared bishop on d6, knowing that white doesn't have dc even this time because of this little trap. Once again, queen h4, intending to checkmate. In this position, white will just end up losing a free piece. Maybe the best they can do is to go pawn to f4, allowing you to take a free pawn, getting back your free pawn. By the way, g3 doesn't work due to the same tactic that we saw earlier. Or let's say white develops his knight anywhere, let's say on c3, not attending to this problem. This can even lead to mate in 4, beginning with knight e2 check. White's king can't escape from Sobibo, so white has to take that knight, and then you take on h2 with your bishop check. Again, there's no escaping from Sobibo, so king h1 is forced, after which you play bishop g3 with discovery check, king g1, and then queen h2 checkmate. So what we are saying is white just has to take on f4 to avoid checkmate. I mean, even queen e1 doesn't work due to the same checkmate sequence. After bishop takes h2 check, king h1, then bishop g3 check, and then this. So all in all, white just has to attend to this knight. It's not easy, so you will see most of your opponents taking that knight, because what else can they do? And then this is when you take, and again we're going to have the same checkmate sequence coming, and so the rook has to die, then you take that rook. At the end of the day, we are just up an exchange with a superior position and a favorable pawn structure. Just go queen e4 and they won't be able to defend this pawn. And there's no bishop d5, by the way. You can give a check, or better go queen b4 as if you want to take this pawn. And once the bishop goes back, you go queen b6 or queen c5 check and win back that pawn. Or if pawn to b3, go bishop e6, and if takes, you can simply open the f file for your rook, and there's little that white can do in this position. For example, they can't even develop their knight successfully due to rook ad8. You see what I was talking about? Nothing that white can do. This is game over. So this is one trap that you need to master with all your eyeballs in the Cozio defense. And that's the main idea of knight g6. Worthy to remember. So in all the variations, there is no d takes c6 by white after you castle short. In fact, after bishop e3 and bishop d6, theory says instead of taking, it's better for white to play pawn to g3 and not taking this pawn. I mean, even knight c3 can be met with this move, queen h4 check, and there's this problem. Again, we're going to be doing the same things where you take on f4 with your knight, and this, I mean, things are just bad. There's still nothing that white can do to stop this mating sequence. And so the only move that Stockfish suggests instead of taking on knight c3 is pawn to g3, just avoiding queen h4. And you still want to fix this, right? So here is how you fix this arrangement. Here you sacrificed a pawn for activity. How do you get back this pawn? You don't even need to get it back because your position is more superior. Just go knight e5, attacking something, and once the bishop goes back, look at all these open lines that you have. I mean, you don't even need to get back this pawn, just like in the two knights defense or the Scotch Gambit, where you don't need a pawn to continue with the attack. This is very much playable even in standard chess. So I'll play bishop h3 here, attacking this rook. White has to let go of this rook, otherwise rook e1 can be met with. There's no pawn to f3, by the way. We are attacking this queen. So the queen has to move. Worse off, if the queen moves to d2 or to d4, you have knight f3 check to win that queen. So the only move is queen c1, after which you go knight to f, and then next, you simply win that rook. It's almost not advisable for white to mess with this pawn. After pawn to d5 and pawn takes, just remember to put your king to safety first and wait for white to blunder because you have queen h4. So castle short is the key move, and then you get back your pawn later. Sometimes after you castle short and then white doesn't take or play bishop e3, which we just saw, if they play something else like knight to c3, once again you can just go queen h4, attacking this bishop indirectly, followed by bishop d6. If white plays bishop e2, because that's what they like doing, again, don't just pay attention to this pawn. Don't even bother to take back this pawn. One secret is to let white take you and accept being down a pawn for activity. So if I were you, I would play something like rook e8, centralizing my rook. If pawn to g3, I can go queen h3 if I want, and someday I may even consider to sack my knight. Just kidding. The thing is, in almost all the variations, d takes c6 just opens up many attacking opportunities for black, and the secret is just to start attacking, putting all your pieces on the most active squares. For example, you can even sack your rook on e2 in this position. This is not going to mate because you can simply defend like this, and after knight takes e2, look at this. You want to win white's queen on d8 with tempo. So the way I'll do this is by taking on f1 first, and that's check. The king has to take, and then I go bishop h3 check. We saw that if white castles short, which is the top played move, the whole idea is to put our king's knight on g6. I just like this line, and this is where we saw this pawn to d4 move where you have to take and go bishop c5, then castle short and start waiting for those traps. But the top played move in this position is not d4. d4 is just an aggressive move. The top played move is pawn to c3. Actually, they want to have two pawns on the center. So against this, you can even go back to your Murphy defense line, starting with a6, and if bishop a4, this is when you go pawn to d5 or even pawn to d6, it doesn't matter, but let's just say d6. And then d4, seeing this move coming, you play bishop d7, and if they take, you can simply take back with your d pawn, not your knight. If bishop e3, a theoretical move, you can go bishop e7 or bishop d6 just to be sure. And then after anything, I can simply castle short and life continues. So you can see by playing this simple Cozio defense how we avoided tons of theories in the Ruy Lopez to do with the d4 square. I mean, not allowing the game to be boring anymore. Now this is a sharp game where the best player has to win. You have bishop d6 coming, you have pawn to f5 coming, and king h8, pawn to f5, exchange. I mean, this is so much fun than the usual Berlin defense in my opinion. So that's how the traditional Cozio defense is played at the top level. Again, just remember to go knight ge, deal done. Right, so if you want to watch the complete version of this video, you can simply head to my Patreon page through the link in the comment section down below and find the full version of this video, which I believe will help you understand the real art of chess. I explain further how top players play the Cozio defense in classical tournaments and other standard games other than blitz and bullet. So that's if you want to take your chess seriously, and that's why I have courses to prepare you for real tournaments, because blitz chess is different from standard chess, in case you didn't know. Right, once again, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to share if you can. That's how you support Casper Chess. Guys, nothing much can be said. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye bye.